The notification lit up Marcus Chen's phone at 2:47 a.m., pulling him from the spreadsheet that had kept him awake in his corner office overlooking Manhattan's glittering skyline. He'd grown accustomed to late-night messages, urgent emails from Tokyo, contract revisions from London, crisis management from anywhere his tech empire touched. But this message was different. "Please, sir, I know we don't know each other, but I'm desperate. My daughter hasn't eaten in 8 hours. The formula costs 43 liras and I don't get paid until Friday. I've never asked anyone for anything before, but she's crying and I don't know what else to do. Can you help? I'll pay you back, I promise. God bless you." Marcus stared at the text, his thumb hovering over the delete button. Wrong number. Obviously. Some poor soul's desperation misdirected into the void of his private line that only a handful of people possessed. He should ignore it. Get back to the quarterly projections that demanded his attention. Instead, something made him read it again. The message had come from a 347 area code, Brooklyn. Marcus enlarged the contact photo. A young man, maybe 25, holding a baby girl with dark curls and the brightest smile Marcus had seen in months. The man's eyes held something. Marcus recognized from his own mirror, years ago, exhaustion mixed with fierce determination. Marcus Chen hadn't always lived in a penthouse. He'd known hunger, known the weight of unpaid bills, known the specific shame of counting coins for milk. His father had died when Marcus was 7, leaving his mother to raise 3 boys, while working double shifts at a laundromat in Queens. He remembered her face when she thought they weren't looking, that same exhaustion, that same determination. His fingers moved before his mind could overthink it. "What's your Venmo?" The response came within seconds. "Oh my God, sir, thank you, but I only need $43. I'll pay you back by Monday. I swear my name is David Torres. I work at—" Marcus cut him off. "Just send me your Venmo, David." David Torres, Brooklyn. Marcus opened the app and paused. $43 would solve the immediate crisis, but it wouldn't solve tomorrow or next week, or the crushing weight that radiated from every word in David's message. Marcus thought about the 1-200 dinner he'd had that evening with investors, about the watch on his wrist that cost more than most people's cars, about the money he spent without thinking on things that never brought him joy. He typed in a number and hit send. 3 floors below, in a cramped studio apartment in Bed-Stuy, David Torres stared at his phone screen, certain he was hallucinating from sleep deprivation. The Venmo notification glowed impossibly bright. "Marcus Chen paid you $5,000. David's hands started shaking. He refreshed the app twice, 3 times. The number remained. $5,000. His daughter Sophia whimpered from her crib, and David moved on autopilot, tears streaming down his face as he prepared her bottle with the last scoop of formula from a container. He'd been rationing for 3 days. As Sophia drank, her tiny hands wrapped around the bottle, David typed with trembling fingers. "Sir, there's been a mistake. I only needed 43. I can't accept this. I don't understand." The reply came immediately. "No mistake. Buy formula. Buy diapers. Pay your rent. Get some sleep. You don't owe me anything." David held Sophia close, breathing in that specific baby smell of innocence and trust, and sobbed. Not the quiet tears he'd shed in the bathroom at work, or the frustrated ones he'd buried in his pillow after Sophia finally fell asleep. These were the deep, whole-body sobs of someone who'd been holding up the world and suddenly found someone willing to help carry it. Marcus Chen set down his phone and stared out at the city. He felt something unfamiliar, a warmth in his chest that had nothing to do with the scotch on his desk. When had he last done something that mattered, really mattered? His company's charitable foundation donated millions annually, but that was tax-deductible strategy, board meetings and PR statements. This was different. This was human. He thought he'd never hear from David Torres again. He was wrong. The next message came 3 days later. "Mr. Chen, I hope it's okay that I'm texting. I wanted you to know what your kindness meant. Sophia has everything she needs now. I paid my rent and bought groceries. I even got her a new winter coat because she'd grown out of her old one. But the thing I can't stop thinking about is that you didn't have to care. You could have ignored a stranger's desperate text. You could have sent the $43 and felt good about yourself. Instead, you changed my life. I don't know how to repay you, but I want to. How can I pay this forward? Marcus found himself smiling for the first time in weeks. Tell me your story. David, how did you end up texting a random number at 3 a.m.? What followed was a conversation that stretched over days, then weeks. David told him about Sophia's mother, Ashley, who died from complications during childbirth, about how he'd been working as a line cook, planning to go to college, dreaming of becoming a teacher, how everything changed the moment they placed Sophia in his arms, how the grief and terror and overwhelming love hit him all at once, how he'd taken every shift he could get, dropped out of community college, moved to the cheapest apartment he could find, how his phone had auto-filled a number from his contact list. When he'd tried to text his cousin Carlos, sending his plea into the universe instead. I'd never ask for help, David wrote. My mom raised me to handle my own problems. But when your daughter is crying from hunger and you've got 632 to your name and payday is 3 days away, pride becomes a luxury you can't afford. Marcus shared his own story in return. The laundromat in Queens, his mother's rough hands that always smelled like detergent and hard work, how he'd built his first computer from salvaged parts and taught himself to code in the public library, how he'd created an app in college that sold for enough money to send his brothers to university and buy his mother a house, how success had brought wealth but also isolation, how the higher he climbed, the lonelier the view became. I have everything, Marcus typed late one night, and somehow nothing. You have nothing material, but you have purpose. You have Sophia. You know what you're fighting for. David's response came quickly. You're wrong about one thing. Mr. Chen, I don't have nothing material anymore. I have someone who believes in me. That's worth more than you know. The next morning, Marcus did something impulsive. He called his assistant. Cancel my morning meetings. I need to go to Brooklyn. David Torres nearly dropped his phone when Marcus Chen asked for his address. You want to visit here? Mr. Chen, this place isn't... I'd like to meet Sophia, if that's okay. The studio apartment was exactly what Marcus expected, clean but threadbare, with a crib taking up most of the living space and children's books, stacked neatly on a milk crate. What he didn't expect was the warmth. Photos of Sophia covered one wall, charting every smile and milestone. A mobile made from origami cranes hung above the crib, catching the light from a window overlooking the street. And Sophia herself, 11, months old, with her father's dark eyes and a smile that could melt glaciers. She reached for Marcus immediately, displaying the fearless trust that only babies possess. She likes you, David said, bouncing her gently. She doesn't usually take to strangers. Marcus held her awkwardly. This tiny human who had no idea she'd changed his life as much as he'd changed hers. I want to help you finish college, he found himself saying. And I want to offer you a job. David's eyes widened. Mr. Chen, I'm a line cook. I don't have any skills that... You're a father working 3 jobs to feed his daughter. You're someone who says thank you and wants to pay it forward. That's the kind of person I want in my company. Marcus adjusted Sophia in his arms, surprised by how natural it felt. Start in our community outreach program. We'll work around your class schedule. Full benefits, including childcare. You'll earn it. I'm not running a charity. But everyone deserves a chance to build something better. David sat down heavily on the futon that doubled as his bed. Why are you doing this? Marcus looked at the young man whose desperation had found him by accident. Or maybe by fate. Because someone gave me a chance once. A librarian in Queens let me use the computer lab after hours when I had nowhere else to go. She saw something in me worth nurturing. I've spent 20 years building an empire, David, but I'd forgotten the most important thing, that we're here to lift each other up. 6 months later, Marcus Chen stood in David's new apartment, a 2-bedroom, in a better neighborhood with a real crib in Sophia's room and a desk where David studied after she went to sleep. David had just aced his first semester back at college while working in Marcus's community program, helping connect resources to families in need. I got into NYU, David said quietly, holding the acceptance letter like it might disappear. Full scholarship for their education program. They want me to start in the fall. Marcus clapped him on the shoulder. You earned this. Every bit of it. I texted the wrong number, David said, shaking his head in wonder. One autocorrect mistake and my whole life changed. Sophia toddled over, now walking steadily, and raised her arms to Marcus, who'd become her unofficial uncle. He scooped her up, marveling at how much had changed since that 3 a.m. text. Maybe it wasn't the wrong number, Marcus said. Maybe the universe knew exactly what it was doing. That night, Marcus posted something on social media for the first time in years, a photo of him and Sophia, her small hand wrapped around his finger. Sometimes we're so focused on building empires that we forget to build bridges. A stranger's text changed my perspective on what success really means. It's not what you accumulate. It's what you give away and who you become in the process. David Torres asked for $43 and reminded me why. I worked so hard to climb out of poverty in the first place. Not to hoard wealth, but to create opportunity. Not to isolate at the top, but to extend a hand to those still climbing. We all need help sometimes. We all deserve dignity, kindness, and a chance to dream. The post went viral, inspiring thousands to share their own stories of unexpected kindness. But for Marcus, the real reward was watching David walk across the stage at graduation 3 years later, Sophia in the front row with her grandmother, both cheering as he received his teaching degree. After the ceremony, David handed Marcus a gift, a framed photo of that first text message, along with a note that read, "To the man who taught me that family isn't just who you're born to, it's who shows up when you need them most. Thank you for answering. Love, David and Sophia." Marcus Chen had made billions in his career. He'd revolutionized industries and changed how the world connected. But holding that frame, looking at the simple words that had bridged two worlds, he realized this was his greatest return on investment. Not money, but meaning. Not power, but purpose. Sometimes the most important messages arrive when we least expect them. And sometimes answering them changes everything.